Welcome to my GIS lab. You can make individual label placements and appearance very flexible by using an annotation layer. But labels should only be set after all symbology has been properly chosen. I want to make a map of the neighborhoods of Lethbridge, and I have 4 layers here: streets, hydrology, green space, and neighborhoods, and I need to change my symbologies. Let's start off with the streets. So I right-click, go to Symbology, and at the moment there's just one single symbol, and we want to have multiple symbols. And I can change this by going to Unique Values. And if I choose my type of road, which is here under a field called F-Desk, so for feature description, if I click on this, here now I have my arterial roads, my collector roads, gravel roads, local roads, etc., etc. And I can go into each of these and I can format my symbol. Let's start with the arterials. I'd like to make this red, and I'd like to make it a little bit thicker, and I apply this. And now we can see the main roads in red. And now if I, for instance, go to ramp, because we have all these ramps here for the connections, and so I also want to make my ramp in red and apply this. Now that starts to look better. And so I can go now through each of these and assign colors and widths that I think are appropriate. Now I already have done this for all my streets in another layer over here. So there you see my different selections that I have done, and you can choose your own. So now that we have dealt with the streets, let's look at hydrology. Right now, hydrology, the symbol is color that we don't want, and of course hydrology should always be a decent blue surrounded by a darker blue there. And now if I say apply, we can see, for instance, that the lakes and the river are displayed properly. Maybe we want to make this a little bit thicker, maybe 0.7 width, and apply this so that our boundaries are a bit better visible. Let's move on to the green space. The green space is already in a nice green. I can accept that. The only thing I don't like here is the polygon boundaries are in a dark black. I don't want to show them at all. So I go to my symbology, and to turn off my outline color, I either make it 0 or I make the color no color. Same result. I apply this. Now we have continuous green spaces. That works for me. And maybe we have to make it transparent a little later. We have to decide that. And then I have my neighborhoods, and already my neighborhoods are actually symbolized. And right now we can probably accept the colors. The key idea is that they are distinguishable by color. I probably want to give them an outline, and let's see how that works. Again, I go to my symbology. If I go to more and format all symbols, I can now choose a pretty thick boundary. And let's make it 3 at the moment. And let's make it, give it some kind of purplish color. And apply this. And now we can see that all boundaries for all symbols have been changed. But maybe my color wasn't the best that I have chosen, so let's go back to format all symbols, a darker gray. In addition to this, I also have an elevation model that is already symbolized with an appropriate color ramp. And I have a hill shade, so that gives me a bit of depth and terrain information. I like to use the hill shade for here because of the river valley, but at the moment the hill shade is in the wrong spot, so I want to actually put the hill shade on top. But my green space is a little bit too strong and it is confusing now with the neighborhood, so choosing my green space and maybe make it transparent. Let's just choose 70% and see how that works. And now this map is starting to come together. And the last bit I want to do, of course, is my labeling. I go to List by Labeling, turn on my labels for neighborhoods, and here are my labels. And right now, these labels are not where I want them, and they are also not within the polygons. So in order to move my individual labels, at the moment I can't do this because they are automatically placed where they are and you cannot change individual labels. So let's control the text first of all. I go to my neighborhoods, and within labeling here we have the options of various predetermined text styles for different types of features. Here's one for populated places. Let's try this. And now we have a proper mapping text. It's already with a halo. It's got a special kind of font, and that works for me. We can argue if you want to have different maybe text color. Maybe that is better for our purpose here. We're lacking the possibility of moving individual labels around. And one way what we can do is we can convert our labels into a separate layer that is editable, and the separate layer is called Annotation Layer. So I can create this by right-clicking, convert my labels to annotation, and here's my Convert Labels to Annotation tool, and everything that has a red star needs to be filled out. So we need to decide in which geodatabase the annotation layer will be written. I simply choose in the correct folder my default geodatabase. I can accept all other default values and I hit run. And we can see here that in my drawing order I have now a new layer, and that is my neighborhoods annotation. Now that we have our annotation layer, we can move individual labels and make also changes to those labels. For instance, Varsity Village, I would like to move it, so I select it. I go to Edit. I go to Move. And now we have a yellow handle that I can use to move my label. I hit the C button on my keyboard to make a handle, and now I can move things around. What about Ridgewood Heights? It's too wide, it doesn't fit in here. So let me select this one. I now can change the text either by going to Annotation, and then I click on Annotation again, and now I can change the text directly here by hitting, for instance, Enter and delete that space. Or I go to the Attribute, which is a more powerful option. Here's my text that I can change, but now I also can, for instance, say I would like to have it centered, and I apply it. And here's my Ridgewood height, and now of course I can choose where is the best placement for this label, and I choose this, and I clear, And now I would go through each individual label, make sure that it's placed correctly, that the text arrangement is how I want it. And once you're satisfied, you then are basically done with your map. That's all for now. I'll see you next time.